Health continues. We're going to take a look at something that I think we all have to deal with. Most of us 40 plus have. I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne, and we've both, I know, experienced the loss of loved ones. We're going to talk with Lola. Lola is the first name in helping you deal with and prepare for loss. It's Loss of Life Advocates. Lola, L-O-L-A. Our guest is Esther Cardenas. She's the founder of Lola. Esther, welcome to the program. How did you and why did you found Lola?
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. I decided after a really bad year in 2014, I suffered the double loss of my father and my husband 63 days apart.
Oh, my.
My husband was I did not know he was ill, and my father I knew was ill. So one was prepared, and the other was not prepared.
Did your husband know he was ill?
Not that I knew of. I had been following very closely my father for about a year, at the last year of his life. So taking care of him, his medical conditions. I was his durable medical power of attorney. So as soon as my father passed away, we buried him, and my husband said, I don't feel good. And I looked at him and said, wow, yeah, you look like you've lost some weight. And 2 weeks later, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it was devastating.
And all the, at one after the other like that.
Yeah, it was really fast, almost a little bit like having whiplash. And emotionally, you're trying to do your best to be strong, which is what people tell you to do. And there's nothing that can hold you up quite through all of this. But there was a lot to do. And I had to get busy working on it because my husband had a practice, a law practice in San Antonio. And because he wasn't prepared, I had to figure out how to close it down. And it caused a lot of heartache because I did not know anything about his business.
Wow. And what about children?
I do have 2 children. I have a son that is 33 years old, Nathan, and I have a daughter that is 27 years old, Aiden. And
Nathan works with you at Lola.
He does. He actually is my right hand. He keeps me in line. He's the one that says, "Hey, Mom, we need to stay focused." And he's this venture would not be what it is today without him.
And of course, at the passing of his dad,
mm-hmm.
did your kids step up and help?
Yes, they did. I was really lucky that they both stopped what they were doing and started to look inward towards me and help me with closing down offices, closing down my husband's life, so to say. And we had a lot of battles that we had to fight, and they were instrumental in making sure that I was healthy and I was well, which is really hard to do when, your kids are grieving and then they see their mom, they've lost their dad, and they see their mom suffering. So they were really responsible for making sure that I got up and I moved around. My daughter is a yoga instructor, so that helped. And she would tell me, "You're not breathing." "Mom, stop, you're not breathing." And I didn't realize that after losing both my dad and my husband that I was holding my breath to the point where it was not healthy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess you were looking around and didn't find anybody who you could really talk to one-on-one, and that's why you set up Lola?
Exactly. What I found was that you look through the Google everything together, and you see life coaches, you see executive coaches and business coaches, but I kept looking for somebody that could kind of hold the flashlight for me and say, here's what's going to happen next, and here's what this is going to mean to you, and this is how it's going to make you feel, and this is how it's going to affect you, and these are the things that you need to do to get ahead of this curve. And I couldn't find that, so I was really looking for myself, and that's when I came up with this idea to be an advocate for those that in the hardest times of their life, when they're grieving, I can help them answer questions and guide them to resources like really great attorneys and really great CPA people and nursing homes, if that's what the life transition is before they have a loss. And hospice, we have spent a lot of time getting to know our partners and making sure that we can guide at the time when people need it the most.
So you're kind of like the Angie's List of dying.
It is, yes, to a great extent. That's what our goal is, to become that for people when they need somebody to make a will at the last minute, or they've suffered a loss and they need to probate. We have actually vetted a number of providers, and if we don't know somebody somewhere, we pick up the phone and call the State Bar Association, or we call the medical associations in their local communities, and we get references, and we do that footwork for people. And I can only base this off of my own experience. I was in Denver, Colorado. I was trying to look for a probate attorney in San Antonio, Texas. My husband, having been an attorney, my attorney left me, so I didn't have that attorney anymore. So I Googled probate attorneys, and I picked the first one off the top of the list, and I learned painfully that he wasn't as experienced as his advertising said. And so it took me another search through friends and family to find somebody that could help me, and I finally did find a probate attorney, but that was after I'd spent an incredible amount of money on the first probate attorney to handle things for me.
And, of course, one of the things that attracted me to Lola was you're calling this the business of death. And I know that sounds, to many people, a little harsh. But over the last 15 to 20 years, hospice, for example, many hospices at one point were community and were nonprofit. But today, dying is big business, folks, right? Have you found that as well?
Yes, there's a lot of organizations out there with many people that work in these industries to help people usher through this kind of last couple of years of their loved ones' lives. And it's very competitive. As a matter of fact, if you go into any of these industries where hospice or home health or nursing, you talk to these individuals, the ones that have the real passion for it, have been in it for a very long time, if not their whole career, and you talk to them about the transition that it's made, and they say, there's so many people that are diving into this industry because, one, we have the baby boomers that are coming up, but also it's become a money-making industry for them. So you can see somebody that has been, working in hospice, and just like anything else, it sales. So
absolutely.
You really do have to, you have to spend your time really researching to find the right places and the right people.
I can remember, and it's been years, when my mother was getting ill, we had a full-time helper, and a nursing aide. But at $20 an hour, 24/7, because they did 3 shifts, that's a lot of money over 7 days, right?
Yes, it's expensive. And, my father, I was really lucky. My mother died in 1999, which her name is Lola. That's what the company's named after. And he took out a long-term care policy through AARP, which they no longer sell anymore with MetLife. And if it wasn't for that, the last year of my dad's life would have cost $500,000. With a long-term care policy, it was a little over $100,000 at the end of his life.
Oh, my.
And that's 24-hour care, putting him in a facility. And I can only imagine, as we enter in and these policies are going out of date, companies are kind of getting out of that business. There's some that are there, far and few, but they are based more towards large employer groups, and it can be costly. It can bankrupt a family. Easily.
Mm-hmm. Our guest is the founder of Lola, Esther Cardenas, and Lola stands for not only Esther's mom, but Loss of Life Advocates. If you're looking for guidance, we're going to give you some information. You'll be able to contact Esther, her team, and Lola at the end of the interview. And we'll also have an article by Esther posted on latenighthealth.com, along with a picture and a link to the website. At one point in this country, when people got old, they just moved in with their kids or siblings or an aunt or an uncle. We don't do that anymore. Is that
No,
good or bad?
We actually have what we call nuclear families, and that's actually for a number of years, the kids went off to college and then they went far and worked far. And now that parents are starting to get elderly and they're becoming frail and old, where it used to be like, I always liked the movie Moonstruck. Everybody lived in the same house.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't happen that way anymore. Now we've gone from this nuclear family, and families are having to make choices about either going home or bringing mom to an area near them or closer to them, or finding some other type of facility for them. There's a lot of homes that people are turning into. Their kids go off and they turn them into elder homes. So they've got 2 or 3 vacant bedrooms, and they open them up and try to help provide care. But it's really not the same as it used to be, because it can wear down a family. It's a lot more than I think that people used to have to handle as a total family many years ago.
And with the technology that we have today, I could not have taken care of my mother. I was her primary caregiver toward the end of her life. I couldn't bathe her. That would have been psychologically strange for me. Some people could handle it. I could not. I don't know if my mom could or not. My mom had mixed dementia, and that was also difficult to deal with. I know of people who have had grandparents or parents stay with them, and they escape at night trying to go back to their old home that may have been sold, or they may have lost the home, and they wander the streets. Right.
And that brings up, you bring up a very good conversation topic, and that is families that are facing these things. When you're in it, you're kind of looking down, the barrel, and you're having to live and make these decisions with family members that you love. And a lot of times people call me and say, how do we start this conversation before we get there? And there's so many tools out in the market they're icebreaker conversations. And there are a lot more organizations that are starting to have a general idea of how to start these conversations about processes. And one of the questions that I love that is this organization founded by a friend of mine, Jethro, out of the East Coast, and he has a company named Hello, but he has these icebreaker starter questions, and one of them is, if you had to make a choice of somebody to help you to go to the bathroom, you couldn't go by yourself, who would be your first person you choose, and who would be the last person you would choose? And it kind of makes you think a little, like, wow, I really should be thinking about this, because there may be a point in my life that I'm going to have to make this choice. And I think that has a lot to do with starting those conversations to spur end-of-life conversations.
Our guest, Esther Cardenas, the founder of Lola, Loss of Life Advocates. You can find out more at lossoflifeadvocates.com, lossoflifeadvocates.com. I'm Mark Alyn. We're going to take a couple of minutes to do some business and turn it over to Daryl Wayne, the insane one, and then when we come back, Esther and I will wrap up here on Late Night Health.
Welcome to Guide to the Soul. This is Robert Clancy. When your life's problems seem to rise and fall like the waves on a stormy ocean, let hope become your life raft and faith become your paddle. Every sea touches a calm shoreline somewhere in the world, and eventually this storm that you're going through will pass too. Never allow negative circumstances to define you. Whatever happens to you in life may be fated, and it certainly can't be changed after the fact. What you can change is how you feel about it and how you're going to let it affect you. Today is a brand new day, and as with any gift, share it with love and gratitude.
For more inspiration from Robert Clancy, visit GuideToTheSoul.com or go to the Moments with Robert page on LateNightHealth.com.
Attention users of the blood-thinning drug Xarelto. If you took the drug Xarelto and experienced complications such as cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, you may be eligible to get a cash award for your suffering. Call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 1-800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150. To qualify for a cash settlement, you must file a claim before the deadline, so don't miss your opportunity for a cash settlement. Call 800-264-3150 now for a free, no-obligation consultation. Our call center is open 24/7. So if you took the drug Xarelto and experienced cerebral hemorrhage, gastrointestinal bleeding, or other internal bleeding, or if a loved one has died after taking Xarelto, call the Xarelto Help Hotline now at 800-264-3150. 800-264-3150. That's 800-264-3150.